Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. Today I have a Halloween themed what's for breakfast to share with y'all. I've got 3 different breakfasts that are themed for Halloween. These holiday themed breakfast videos are some of my favorite videos to make every year. I do Christmas usually. It's just so much fun. My kids enjoy it and it lets me be my extra self. So let's go ahead and get into the video. First up, we have this mummy cream cheese Danish. This is a twist on one that I did like 2 years ago. The ones that I did back then were individual, but this one's just one giant one. So I'm starting off by like softening up some cream cheese because I'm not going to wait for cream cheese to soften in the morning. So I took 4 ounces of regular cream cheese and just microwaved it for 30 seconds. And then to that, I added 8 ounces of this cream cheese spread that's pumpkin spice flavored. I got that at Aldi. And then I also added in about half a teaspoon of vanilla and a couple tablespoons of sugar, and then just mix that all together really well. That's going to be our filling for our Danish. Now I've got one of those crescent dough sheets. You really want to use the sheet for this because it's just going to make it easier, but if you can't find the sheet, you can just pinch together the regular like tube of crescent and just pinch it all together so you get one big rectangle piece. And then you're going to go through and you're going to cut about like 2-inch strips on either side of the rectangle because we're going to use that to like roll and make our mummy, like fold it over. And you're going to leave like the middle to where you're going to put your cream cheese. So once you have all your slits cut, then you're just going to take your cream cheese mixture and spread it down the middle of this crescent dough sheet. And then you're going to start just taking those little strips and folding it over. Once I had it all wrapped up, and then I just put it in the oven on 350 for about 22 minutes. You just want it to get nice and golden brown. I let this cool for about 5 minutes and then I added on some little candy eyeballs, and then we've got our mummy. You could also add on like a powdered sugar glaze if you wanted to, but I just wasn't feeling it this morning, so we left it at that. We had this with some scrambled eggs with cheese and some grapes on the side, and this is one of the kids' favorite things. They ask for it every year, the little mummies that we had that one year, but this year we did do a twist on it, but they still loved it just as much. Next up, we have some coffin-shaped Pop-tarts and some caramel apple yogurt. So I have floured my surface here and I am working with some pie crust. You're going to use 2 pie crusts if you want to make 6 Pop-tarts. And preferably you want your pie crust to come to room temperature before you try to roll it out. But I am impatient, so I had some cracks in it, but I just pressed it back together and everything was fine. So it will work out if you are impatient like me, but preferably let it come to room temperature first. So then you're just going to take your coffin-shaped cookie cutter, or you could freehand this if you want. If you're going to freehand it, I would recommend cutting out your shape out of parchment paper and then like using that as your stencil. And you could do any kind of Halloween cookie cutter if you wanted it to be different shapes. But I found this coffin one at Walmart for like $1.98. So that is what I used. And you're going to get 6 pieces out of each pie crust. So just repeat that with your other pie crust. So and then I've got 6 of them on my silicone sheet lined baking pan. You could use parchment paper. You could grease your pan, whatever you want to do. I just find that the little silicone mat works the best. So then for my filling, I'm just using strawberry jelly. You could use grape jelly. You could just use like cinnamon, sugar, and butter. Whatever you want to do. But put your filling in there and then you spread it out. You don't want to go all the way to the edge because you want to have room for you to seal the top to the bottom. So just spread it out a little bit and then put the other piece of pie crust on top and go around the edge with a fork to seal it. And then some of mine kind of did crack because they had already been cracked, but any of them that didn't already have like a crack for an air vent, I went ahead and just like poked a couple fork holes in it so that some air could be let out and they wouldn't like explode. And then these went in the oven at 350 for 25 minutes. While those were baking, I prepared a little powdered sugar glaze. So I like rarely measure this. I do about a cup of powdered sugar and then a couple tablespoons of milk and a little bit of vanilla. Mix it together. If it's too thin, add more powdered sugar. If it's too thick, add a little bit more milk. And you get the consistency that you want. I wanted this to be a little bit thicker because I wanted to try and draw my Pop-Tarts, but that didn't really work out. It was still a little bit too thin, so I wasn't really able to draw anything on our Pop-Tarts, just kind of put some zigzags on it. But I was trying to do like some spider webs or something on there. It just didn't work out right. I'm not the best at making designs with frosting or icing or anything, so that didn't work out very well. But here is what the coffins looked like when they came out of the oven. Elijah said it looked like blood was leaking out of the coffins, which I thought was very cool, and I think they turned out great. I wasn't able to get the little spider webs to do what I wanted it to do, as I mentioned, but I still think that they looked pretty cool and they tasted delicious. Because Pop-Tarts aren't a very good breakfast on their own, I made some of our favorite little yogurt cups. I've shared this before, but it's a great like fall breakfast. It's not really Halloween-y, but it's more fall. So we just take some vanilla Greek yogurt, get that in the bowl, and then we top it with some chopped up apple. You can do whatever kind you like. Sometimes we do Granny Smith. This time we just had some Gala apples, and then you drizzle on a little bit of caramel dip, and then you add some granola. And this is one of our favorite breakfasts, like probably ever. We eat this pretty often, not just in the fall, but especially in the fall when the apples are in season. So we just had that with our Pop-Tarts, and the kids love the Pop-Tarts. So I think we will try those again for different holidays with different shapes. Next up, we have some orange pancakes with some black syrup and some little ghost bananas. So I'm starting off the night before by making the syrup. That way I don't have as much work to do in the morning. So I am adding half a cup of sugar, half a cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, a teaspoon of vanilla, a cup of water to a pot, and starting to let that heat up, whisk it together. And then once it starts to get hot, I added in a little bit of black food coloring gel until I got it to the nice black color that I wanted. And then I just let this boil for a couple of minutes till it got nice and thick. Once I had reached the thickness it needed to reach, then I just let it cool off and then I added it to a bottle. I just had this old bottle in the cabinet, but one of those little like old like condiment bottles, or not even old, but little condiment bottles like the red and yellow ones that you can buy at Dollar Tree, that would work really good for drawing the designs with the syrup on your pancakes later. So if I had one of those, or if I would have planned ahead, I would have gotten one of those to make things a little bit easier. So then the next morning I just made my pancakes. I'm just using a box of pancake mix, adding the milk to it and some sugar, and then I'm also adding in food coloring until I get it to the color that I want. So I did a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red, and I just kept mixing it until I got a really nice orange color. Just use whatever pancake mix you want. The recipe for the syrup actually had a recipe for some pumpkin pancakes as well, but I didn't really want to make those. But if you are interested in that, that will be linked down below with the recipe for that black syrup. So then I just cook these in batches on a greased skillet, and you just want to make sure they get cooked all the way through, but don't cook them too long that they start to turn brown. You want to cook them just enough to where they're cooked through, but they still have their nice bright orange color. To go with our pancakes, I just made some little ghost bananas. I have shared this before when we made oatmeal, I think last year. You just cut the bananas in half, and then you cut them in half the other way, like horizontally, like through the center. And then you take some chocolate chips and take the pointed side of the chocolate chip and stick that down in the banana. You do one for each eye and one for the mouth, and they look like little ghosts. This is a super easy way to just add a little bit more Halloween flair to the breakfast. And here are the kids' plates. So I just tried to make a little like jack-o'-lantern face on top of their pancakes. I also tried to make a spider, but it didn't turn out so good. What I would recommend doing is putting just like a dot of syrup and then spreading it out with a toothpick to get like more precise shapes, because if you try to add too much, it's just gonna run all over the place. This is one of those that like it always looks better on Pinterest, but I think they turned out pretty cute and the kids thought they were delicious. And even if you don't want to make black syrup or this specifically for Halloween, I highly recommend trying the syrup. You don't have to add the black food coloring. It's just a cinnamon syrup and it is very, very good. So I think even if you don't want to do any Halloween stuff, I think you can still get something from this video, and that is that cinnamon syrup. But that is going to be it for this Halloween themed What's for Breakfast. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Look out for a Christmas one when it gets closer to Christmas. But I hope y'all have a good rest of the week, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.